going on, guys? The Inside the Boot podcast, and today we were talking about Brian Daboll, updates about the New York Giants. Of course, they won against the Colts, and it's frustrating as us fans because I know we want them to lose, and we're trying to get that number one overall draft pick, but now it seems less likely. But we're mainly talking about Brian Daboll and a little bit of Joe Schoen. I know I made a video a while back that did really well on the channel about if Brian Daboll should be fired. If he is he the right guy to lead us for the New York Giants and for Joe Schoen, is he the right fit for GM? It's mainly gonna be for Brian Daboll's purposes because I don't know if Brian Daboll's gonna be back. There's some speculations like, hey, John Mara might keep both of them, or he lets Brian Daboll go. So listen, the Giants season is done. We know that. No playoffs, no anything. Probably not even a number one draft pick. So if you're a Giants fan, what do you look forward to? And I guess that's really just free agency in the NFL draft, which is not for a while. But like I said, we're talking Brian Daboll today. And with Brian Daboll, a lot needs to be discussed. And I'm a big fan of Brian Daboll. I am. I think he's done a better job than Joe Schoen in this tenure for both of them. I don't think Joe Schoen is the right fit for GM. I don't love his process, and process is everything, right? As a rebuilding team, you want to see them take steps forward, right? At the end of the day, success is everything, and if you're not a successful football team, then you gotta change. Then you gotta change coaching and GMs. And I'll say this first for the first side of things about not firing them might be the okay move because, listen, firing coach after coach after coach, GM after GM, I know Dave Gettleman was here for a few years, so it's not like they're like 2 years in and out for GMs. But at the end of the day, we need to see a GM and coach that just can stay, that can have a job that is not on the hot seat every season, and that the Giants aren't picking in the top 5 every year. We need to see success. We need to see draft picks hit, not missing on draft picks, especially high in the draft when you can build a team from the ground up. If you have multiple top picks that work out, the Giants haven't had many. So I know, with that being said, why should we keep Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? So for Brian Daboll purposes, the head coaching market is not phenomenal. The big name is Mike Vrabel, former Tennessee Titans head coach, brought them to the playoffs a few seasons back. So maybe there's a fit there for Brian Daboll to be fired, and they hire Mike Vrabel. That's really the only guy that comes to mind that I'd be like, okay, I'm okay with firing Brian Daboll and hiring Mike Vrabel. Because that is an upgrade, in my opinion. But there's not many else out there that I'd be like, okay, let's fire Brian Daboll and go there. And I'm not saying Brian Daboll has been a perfect head coach where it's like, hey, sorry, Brian, we found an upgrade. Because there's not many upgrades out there. And then for GMs, I don't really know the market for GMs, but I can't imagine it's anything different. Joe Schoen has not been a great GM. That I can totally say. And I think they're a dual package. I know a lot of Giants fans who I have talked to think that they're not a dual package, but at the end of the day, I think they are. With how Mara has talked, and I know things have been different. Like a few seasons ago, he said Joe Judge's job is safe, and then goodbye. You get the boot. But it feels like with this tenure, it's a little bit different. I know we saw in Hard Knocks that this is kind of Joe Schoen's squad. John Mara is kind of sitting back, letting Joe Schoen do the process with Brian Daboll and the directors, the player personnel, all of that nonsense. John Mara is obviously pissed off with how this season has gone and how 2023 has gone. And I mean, the big storyline has been Saquon Barkley having a career year with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I will side with Joe Schoen letting him walk. That was the right move. But for Joe Schoen's job to not be as hot, he has to absolutely nail this draft class. And I think this draft class has some good players in it, but at the end of the day, this team needs a quarterback. And is Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward the answer? Because the last thing you need is the Giants reaching on a quarterback, whether it's Cam Ward or Shedeur, and then being god-awful. Because that sets you back another 3-4 years, and that's not what we need. We need progression. We need steps in the right direction, right? 2022, I know it's a few years ago now, but that felt like the year where Giants fans were kind of like, hey, we got a decent football team, and maybe, we can start building this team up. But ever since then, it's gone downhill. I mean, the big names that have left, Xavier McKinney, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Williams, Julian Love, players like that, those are big pieces. And Xavier McKinney's been an awesome player, leads the league in interceptions, I believe. Saquon, not going to break Eric Dickerson's record, but a phenomenal year. But the thing is about those two teams, Green Bay and Philadelphia, those teams hit on their draft picks, and they make good trades. I mean, for the Eagles, trading for A.J. Brown was amazing. Getting Devontae Smith in the draft, they find these players and they develop them. So that's the other thing, right? Is this coaching staff doing enough that they're developing their draft picks into good players? And I don't know if I can say that. I think with Brian Daboll, obviously the offense hasn't been phenomenal since Saquon left. I think Theo Johnson can be a good player. I mean, hey, Malik Neighbors and Tyron Tracy, 1,000 yards, that's good. That's good. That's good work. All right? I know Tyron Tracy's 25, whatever. All right? Whatever. It's not like he's 27. I could take 25. That's not that bad. And with Malik Neighbors, you got your wide receiver 1. Right? You have your wide receiver 1. He's a star talent. He had 1,000 yards with Tim Boyle, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones. Malik Neighbors is a damn stud. And I'm glad they took Malik Neighbors, right? He was the perfect pick there. I know there was some speculation they might trade back with the Bears, all that. No. They got Malik Neighbors. They got their number 1 receiver. And that's some of the hardest things to find for an offense. I mean, you look at the elite offenses. I mean, the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, the Bengals, Jamar Chase, Eagles, A.J. Brown, Dallas, CeeDee Lamb. I can go on and on about wide receiver 1s on this in this league. So, I mean, the 2024 draft class has been good for Joe Schoen, but we're talking about Brian Daboll, right? And the case to keep Brian Daboll, good offensive mind. He was the coach of the year in 2022, but I don't think that's a great thing to look at now, because the team in 2022 was better than 2024, in my opinion, offensively. He's a good QB coach. I mean, hey, Drew Lock having 5 total touchdowns, that doesn't happen every day. So, I mean, they had a good game plan for Drew Lock. Obviously not the right time to win that football game, but Brian Daboll's a pretty good QB coach. Now, I know you're going to say, but Daniel Jones wasn't good. I don't love bringing Daniel Jones and Daboll together, right? We knew in 2023 things weren't working out after the 2022 season with Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll. And then 2024 was really the nail in the coffin. Like, these two cannot work together. But, hey, the players do have his back, right? It's not like they gave up against the Indianapolis Colts. So that's a good sign for Brian Daboll's case, who's fighting for his job. A big win for the Giants. From a from a Brian Daboll standpoint. The fans are obviously pissed they won that football game. Fans are locked in on Shedeur or Cam Ward. Me, I don't really know about the QB situation. It's definitely 100% the biggest need for this football team, but is Cam Ward and Shedeur the right guys? Is Cam Ward and Shedeur the right guys? So that's the big question, right? Because when you draft a quarterback, you want to be 100% certain that this is the guy for the next 4 seasons. You don't want to be like, I don't know. I don't know with Cam. I don't know if with Shedeur. You can't be like that. You got to be locked in. And if not, you know damn well those Raiders, man, those Las Vegas Raiders want Shedeur bad. Or quarterback. They're also in quarterback search. Brian Daboll, first head coach stint, probably not the greatest. 2022 was the year where, like I said, Giants fans were like, hey, this might be the guy. The Giants may have found their guy. From going from Pat Shurmur, Brent McAdoo, Joe Judge, all those coaches. 2022, the red zone touchdown rate was at 5th. 5th in the NFL out of 32 teams. Phenomenal. 2023, it went down to 31st. And then this year, it's 32nd. Last in the NFL this year in red zone rate. TD rate. Third down conversion, all of them have been relatively the same. All in the 20s. 22nd in 2022. 30th in 2023. And 27th in 2024. The big thing is the red zone rate, in my opinion. I can go on with the fourth down conversion rate. 2-point conversion rate. It's pretty much middle of the pack every year. But the red zone TD rate. You go from 5th to 31st and 32nd. That's a problem. That is a problem for the New York Giants offense. Because the Giants brought in Brian Daboll to fix this offense. And it seemed like 2022 was the big year. That, hey, Brian Daboll may be able to fix some things. Now, this team does still need more offensive talent. Malik Neighbors and Tyron Tracy, as good as they are having a season, you need more. You need a wide receiver, too. I don't think Wan'Dale's the guy. Jalen Hyatt, I said last year that he hasn't played enough snaps. I don't think he's a great NFL player, but I have said this to a few. Maybe all he needs is a gunslinger. Maybe all he needs is a guy that can launch the football down. But I don't know. I don't know with Jalen Hyatt. And yeah, I mean, Wan'Dale I don't think is great. So you need wide receivers. Tight end Theo Johnson looked good at the end of the year. Got hurt, obviously, so maybe he's your tight end of the future. The thing is that there's just so many questions with this team. I mean, the first two is Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen the right guys? I don't know, man. I don't know. Because at the end of the day, man, like, you need success. And you just don't have that right now with these last 2 seasons. I think it does come down to quarterback play. Like I said, I don't think Daniel Jones was good. I think he had that fluke year in 2022. I'll say it. But, like I said, and I think the big question that everyone's asking is, Vin, do you think Brian Daboll is going to be fired? And I'm going to say this. Is it Brian Daboll is fired? Joe Schoen is fired. I don't think you just fire Brian Daboll and keep Schoen. I can make a good argument that Brian Daboll has done better than Joe Schoen. The draft picks have not been great. 2022, they took a team that had Isaiah Hodgins, Reggie James. Saquon was great and all, but like Daniel Bellinger was your tight end one. And he got those guys to a playoff with Daniel Jones. I think Brian Daboll's lacking talent, and that comes from upstairs. So this free agency's big. They have like $60 million to spend. But like I don't think a lot of Giants fans have a lot of trust in Joe Shane to pick the QB and to enter free agency and have a good free agency. So, I think John Mara, his process hasn't been good. He hasn't brought in the right guys. I think John Mara keeps both of them, man. And then this upcoming year, like if they don't see any sort of fixage in like a 6-7 win team, they're probably out the following year. Because I think the big thing is that Brian Daboll and Joe Shane never had their own QB. They were stuck with Daniel Jones. Then they had the Tommy DeVito effect. Tim Boyle this year. Drew Lock. So a lot has happened. I mean, like I said, the flaws with Brian Daboll too. I'm not saying this guy's been perfect. He has not been great. A career record of 18-31-1. One of those ties to the Washington Commanders in the 22 season. But the coaching staff and the guys he's brought in have not been great. When they fired Wink Martindale and parted ways, the defense can't get turnovers with Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen has been a poor hiring. Mike Kafka stinks. That's why Brian Daboll took over plays, because Mike Kafka couldn't do it. Had the 2022 season, and then after that, it's not been good. But okay. All right. And the other thing, too, is that the offense has taken a big dip. And I think at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to kick the head coach out. But like I said, I do think they're a dual package. I do think they are. I don't think Brian Daboll deserves to get fired, but I think at the end of the day, success matters, and if you're not getting it, you're not going to stay. And for Joe Shane, I don't think his job is safe either. Just don't fire one. If you're going to fire people, you're going to have to clean house. Get rid of Kafka, get rid of Bowen, and you're just going to have to restart. Like again. Restarting again. It's a tough look for the franchise, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, with Joe Shane, draft classes have been great. 2024 seems okay. I said overrated in the past. But Malik and Tyron are real fun in the offense. But we need more. We need more in this defense, man. They need help on the line, on the defensive line with Dexy. Cornerbacks are iffy. Don't really know what Deonte Banks is. I feel like this year he took a step back because Bowen, that man put Deonte Banks on an island. But not saying with a new defensive coordinator, Banks is all of a sudden going to be some superstar top 10 cornerback. But Shane Bowen was never the right hire. I said to fire him in week 4 after they lost 21-18. And, 7 field goals they allowed. But anyways, that's going to do it. That's my thoughts if the Giants should or should not fire Brian Daboll. I think at the end of the day, success is a big thing. We'll see if Brian Daboll gets fired. But that's it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.